Let's be completely honest. It is incredibly easy to read Stoic quotes when your life is going perfectly. It's easy to preach about discipline when you're well rested, your bills are paid, and your plans are executing smoothly. But philosophy is completely useless if it only works on sunny days. What do you actually do when you miss a massive deadline because you were simply too exhausted to function? What do you do when you stare at a grade or a bank account balance that makes your stomach drop, and you realize you have to find a way to pass or survive out of pure necessity? That is where the philosophy actually begins. 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius wasn't sitting in a quiet library writing inspirational quotes for the internet. He was writing notes to himself in a muddy military tent, surrounded by a plague, dealing with a political betrayal by his closest friend, and facing a bankrupt empire. He wasn't trying to sound deep. He was trying to keep his mind from fracturing under immense pressure. Today we aren't looking at Stoicism as poetry. We are looking at it as a mechanical diagnostic tool. Here are the 3 strict rules to take the heaviest problem in your life right now, strip away the noise, and turn it into permanent leverage. Rule number 1, neutralize the data. The Greek philosopher Epictetus laid the foundation for this rule with a brutal truth. Man is not disturbed by events, but by the views he takes of them. Think about what happens when you receive bad news, whether it's a failed exam, a canceled contract, or a sudden financial hit. There are always 2 distinct parts to the event. First, there is the raw, objective fact. The email says no. Second, there is your emotional interpretation. My future is ruined. This always happens to me. I'm incompetent. Most of the suffering you experience doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from the fictional story you tell yourself about the event. Stoicism demands that you strip away the narrative and look only at the unvarnished data. When you allow your mind to add adjectives to a situation, you amplify the damage. The event is neutral. Your judgment is what makes it toxic. If an engine fails, an engineer does not sit down and cry about how unfair the laws of thermodynamics are. They look at the diagnostic report, isolate the broken component, and look at the math. They treat the failure as feedback. To apply this today, use a technique called objective description. The moment chaos hits, grab a piece of paper and write down exactly what happened using 0 adjectives. No words like terrible, unfair, or ruined. Just the raw facts. If you lose a client, the data says revenue decreased by X amount and schedule capacity increased by Y hours. That is a spreadsheet problem, not a personal crisis. Once you remove the emotion from the equation, you turn a devastating crisis into a simple problem that can be systematically solved. Rule number 2, reverse the obstacle. Once you have stripped away the emotional narrative and looked at the cold facts, it's time to apply Marcus Aurelius's most famous strategic framework. He wrote, "The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." To understand this, look at how a fire operates. When a small flame encounters a heavy log, it gets snuffed out because it lacks the capacity to handle the weight. But when a massive, blazing furnace encounters that exact same log, it consumes it, uses it as fuel, and grows brighter and more powerful because of it. You need to become the furnace. In modern life, we treat problems as roadblocks that force us to change direction or give up entirely. The Stoic treats a problem as a specialized training partner designed to build a specific muscle they are currently lacking. Every difficult situation contains a hidden target of opportunity. If you are working on a project and your partner suddenly quits, your narrative calls it a catastrophe. But the framework of reversal says this is the exact test you needed to master self-reliance. Force yourself to understand every single technical part of the operation and take full ownership. If an unexpected competitor launches a superior product, it isn't a threat to your survival. It is a masterclass in market analysis, showing you exactly where your weaknesses are. The obstacle isn't a red light, it's an intense, demanding instructor. Every setback forces you to develop patience, administrative discipline, or creative problem-solving skills that you would have completely ignored if everything had gone smoothly. You do not just tolerate the problem, you use its weight to lift yourself higher. Rule number 3. Dominate the immediate. The final trap of any crisis is the tendency to look too far ahead into a broken future and freeze. When things go wrong, our minds instantly play a worst-case scenario reel. We ask ourselves, how am I going to recover from this next month? Or how will I survive next year? Seneca warned against this mental drift, writing that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. While your competitors are still paralyzed, mourning their old plans and worrying about things they cannot control, the Stoic focuses entirely on the next 60 seconds. You cannot fix a 6-month problem today, but you can absolutely dominate the very next task directly in front of you. This is the difference between passive worrying and active engineering. If your business collapsed, you don't rebuild the entire empire this afternoon. You make one phone call. You clean your workspace. You open a blank document and outline one new script. You break the massive crisis down into micro actions and execute them with mechanical, remorseless precision. By focusing your absolute energy on the present moment, you strip away anxiety. Anxiety requires a future projection to exist. When you pull your mind back to the immediate task, the line of code, the mathematical calculation, the single email, you leave no room for panic. You build a wall of forward progress that no crisis can break. The world will continue to throw chaos at you. It does not care about your plans, your comfort, or your academic or professional timelines. But from this moment on, you change how you respond to it. You look at the raw data, you find the hidden advantage inside the obstacle, and you take immediate, relentless action. Stay disciplined, stay unshakable. We'll see you in the next breakdown.